Hello, this is Storybooks channel. New videos are posted every day. Subscribe and click the bell.
It would have been better if she'd gotten married. How much cat food and sausages can you buy at the grocery store? Helen grumbled. Listen to you. There's a man sitting on every corner waiting for me to come out. Not only am I over 30, but I have 2 cats as a dowry, smiled Jenna. I don't remember if I told you were crazy or not. Already more calm and peaceful tone, asked her friend. Yes, or you don't let me forget it. Come on, we'll have tea, cake. Today was Jenna's 32nd birthday. We decided to celebrate on another day, but no one was going to refuse the cake today. The friends went up to the apartment, gossiped a little over a mug of tea, and after a couple of hours, Helen went home. Oh, I feel Saturday will be fun, she said in farewell. Definitely confirmed by Jenna. On the way home, Helen met another of their friends, Maria. As they passed a local homeless man, Maria became as stiff and stared at him. Could it be something? Helen was surprised. Look, I know how to wean him off. It's a pity to feed stray cats and homeless people. I got an idea. I suggest we play it out. What if it all works out? And she'll come to her senses, get her life back on track. She'll be like everyone else. Do you have a plan? Maria went towards the homeless man, trying to hide her squeamishness as carefully as possible. He looked at her in surprise and then held out a dirty palm. Good evening, beautiful girl. Perhaps you can help the unfortunate. For milk, for bread. How much do you want? Maria immediately took out 100 from her coat pocket and slipped the bill into his dirty hand. And then she asked, how would you like to eat and wash for free? I'm all for it, but nothing's free. What in return? He asked. Well, if you are interested, then I am waiting for you at the same place on Saturday at 10 o'clock, not to be late. That's when you'll find out all the details. The man nodded and put the money in his pocket. When the women had moved far enough away so that he couldn't hear them, Helen asked, Maria, are you crazy? What are you doing? These are homeless people. I really doubt the adequacy of your plan. Jenna is a friend of ours. I remember, and like you, I wish her all the best. Maria reassured her. Everything's gonna be fine. Don't worry. Well, you know what? Jenna's 32. How much longer can you run around feeding all the homeless? When are we gonna get married? And have kids? Just teach her a lesson once. I think that'll be enough. You don't have to be involved. I'll do it myself, just to play along. She'll thank us later. You'll see. Helen nodded incredulously. They agreed to meet here Saturday morning and went home. And on Saturday at 10 o'clock sharp, all 3 of them were standing at the meeting place. What's up? Let's go? Maria turned to the man. Or did you change your mind? He shook his head negatively and obediently, rising from the steps of the store. They followed the women to Maria's home. And how will you explain everything? Whispered Helen clarified. No way. Yesterday, I told him about the holiday, and today early in the morning, he has already run off to go fishing. As he put it, he's been waiting for a good time, she laughed. So don't worry. What about the bum? Well, we'll open him up, feed him, give him a haircut. He'll look like a human being. I remember my son in the village in the cowshed slipped and with all his might slapped himself in the manure. Can you imagine? It was summer, it was hot. He was half dry by the time he got home. I still remember washing his hair. After that, nothing scares me anymore. You know, nothing scares me at all. Maria lived on the next block. The homeless man walked a little farther away so as not to attract attention. The thought that he would be able to eat and wash himself made him indescribably happy. He had forgotten the last time he had seen hot water. In the bathhouse, he was understandably kept out. In the apartment, Magiana took a full bath for him, gave him a towel and clean clothes. She's ready to wash. You can take as long as you want. No one's rushing you. Here's a disposable blade. Shave your beard, then we'll fix your hair. But basically go, and she nodded in the direction of the bathroom. And you still haven't told me what is required of me in return. Reminded the man, don't worry about anything you can't handle. You meet a woman, you spend the evening with her. Maybe even a kiss. If you're lucky, of course. And then you tell her the truth about yourself, who you really are. I think it's even worth a little sass at the end to teach her a lesson she'll remember for the rest of her life. And that's it, Bush smiled. Yeah, were you worried they'd send you to a construction site or a vegetable garden? Well, I can do anything, the man said quietly in his defense. And when he opened the bathroom door, Maria called out to him. Your name is Alex, Alexander. Go on, Alex. Be afraid. I washed Alex for an hour and a half, and when he reappeared before his benefactors, they gasped in surprise. Before them stood a completely different man. Without a beard, he looked much younger, of course, but it did not spoil him at all. On the contrary, he was very good-looking. Excellent result. Satisfied, Maria smiled. Sits down on a stool. Let's get your hair in order. By the way, there are lice. Well, I can't answer for sure, but I think not. Alex was cautious. From the outside, it could seem that he was a little afraid of these women, but he was careful to hide it. And already in half an hour, he looked like an ordinary average man. Seeing his reflection in the mirror, the guy could not believe his eyes. I can't even remember the last time I saw myself like this. You just don't forget about the deal. Roughly reminded Maria. Yes, I remember. And we're going to eat? He didn't get confused. Maria nodded and headed for the kitchen. There she put pilaf on cut bread and poured currant compote into a glass. The women watched him observe what was offered and marveled at his appetite. To their amazement, he ate almost a loaf of bread. And when he finished, he smiled contentedly and leaned back in his chair. Thank you. Dinner was delicious. Well, you haven't been relaxing at all. We should be at the cafe in 2 hours. And your cover story's still not ready. Thank God, Maria's imagination was in full swing, and soon he was a budding furniture entrepreneur. Hence the calluses on his hands. His task was to seduce Ben. It must be said that the essence of the plan of these women Yatsenyuk never fully understood. But he swore and swore that he would do everything in his power. He had to at least work off his bath and lunch. A couple of hours later, he came to the cafe with his new acquaintances, where Jenna was waiting for them. And this is our present to you. Dear Stash proudly presented Alex Maria. His name is Alexander, and for today, he will keep you company. Are you leaving? The birthday girl was surprised. No, we are staying too. Will you even remember how it is to be next to a real man? Helen cheerfully supported her friends. Alexander I stood as if thunderstruck and looked at the birthday girl with all his eyes. Of course, he recognized her at once. And how could it be otherwise? This is the same blue-eyed nymph who periodically bought him pies in the store and always asked the sales girls to keep them up, because it tastes better that way. And coffee, she never forgot about him, even gave him money sometimes. Thanks to Jenna, Alexander could have a hot meal once in a while. For a couple seconds, he admired his girlfriend for the evening, and then he suddenly remembered what he had to do at the end, and he instantly liked the plan. He immediately wanted to call the whole thing off and just leave, but he realized he couldn't do that, not because he was afraid of anyone. No, he wanted to take the chance that fate had given him and spend at least a little time with this beautiful woman, to talk to her. After all, there might not be a second chance. Hello me, Alex. Happy birthday. Jenna looked at the unexpected beau with curiosity and caught herself thinking that he seemed familiar to her, as if she had seen him before. But it couldn't be, she pondered. I'm pretty sure we've never met this guy before. Hi, thank you very much, she replied aloud. And we used to be able to date. Believe me, I wouldn't have forgotten you. Alex sneered, trying not to show how much he liked her. He remembered how often he had eaten pies and dreamed that one day he would be able to talk to her. And now he's looking into her eyes. So it's a dream come true, even if it's not exactly what he wanted. But it's better than nothing. Meanwhile, the birthday girl led all the guests to the preset table. Alexander kindly filled the girls' glasses with champagne and was the first to make a toast. The friends, noticing Jenna's interest in the guy, gloated a little in their hearts. They were sure that when the show would come to an end, she would realize that she should not waste so much of her precious time on the unworthy, and after such a shakeup, she would definitely take care of her personal life. The time at the parties flew simply unnoticed. When the champagne gave them courage, the girls began to perform their favorite songs. And when their turn came to their table, Helen with a grin offered to sing Alexander. He was confused at first, because I don't remember the last time I sang anything. But he quickly pulled himself together and asked only to find the words to be simpler. And then he took the microphone and started singing. His voice was so beautiful that many women listened with bated breath. And when Alexander finished singing, the hall exploded with applause. Jenna clapped heartily. She even thought she had a little crush on this unknown guest at her party. Her friends looked at her every now and then, coming to the opinion that events were not going according to their plan. And as the birthday girl studied, Helen whispered to Alex, "So let's take another 20 minutes and move on to part 2 of the plan. And I would like to give up the second part." "I'm not sure," Alex said. "She's nice. I don't want to hurt her." "Alex, have you decided you're going to be her lover? Do you even remember where we picked you up this morning? Do you think if you come here in your original form, they'd have let you in? Not to mention the songs. Don't forget who you are. A bum. And I remember that very well," he said with resentment in his voice. "That's what I'm saying. And you and I had a deal. Well, then I'm breaking it. You can regrow my beard and glue my hair back on." He said and smiled wryly. Back at the table, Jenna noticed that her friend was arguing with her new acquaintance. She was curious and decided to approach them, but immediately stopped, noticing that they were heading towards her. "What's going on?" Jenna asked. Maria looked at her friend guiltily. "Jenna, I'm sorry. It was originally my idea. Anyway, this Alex is not an entrepreneur. And what I don't quite understand is that at this second, Alex wanted to just disappear into thin air. It was probably the first time he had ever felt ashamed of his homeless status. But it was impossible to change anything at this moment. Alex grew up in an ordinary family in a provincial town. His mother raised him and his older brother alone, since his father died early, and returning from the army, was stunned. On the eve of his arrival, the parental house burned to the ground. His mother lived alone at that time and did not manage to get out. She suffocated. It all happened at night. At the time of the fire, the older brother had already moved to New York and lived there with his family. When he arrived at his mother's funeral, he was as shocked as Alex. No one understood how all this could have happened. Alex was simply heartbroken. For 2 years, he dreamed how he would hug his mother on his return home. And now he's back. But the dream never came true. What should I do? He asked his brother. No shelter, no clothes, no money. Everyone has to move on with money. I will help you at first, of course, but then I can't take you in myself. You must understand. We're in a 2-bedroom and we're studying. And in a couple of months, we'll have a second child. And it will be difficult for you in the capital. That's why I'm offering you an option. I'll rent you an apartment for 2 months and pay for it. During this time, you have to find a job and get on your feet. I can't help you with anything else." The older brother kept his promise, and Alex moved into the rented accommodation the same day. The apartment was very small and dirty, but after the army, it could not frighten him. The guy found a job, got a job as a driver on a shuttle bus. He passed his license before the army. The salary, of course, is small, but there was enough for food and housing. 6 months passed at this pace, and then something happened that finally knocked him out of his rut. One day, coming home from work in a dark alley, he was attacked. Alex was a tough guy, but there were too many attackers. The guy woke up in the hospital with broken ribs and a concussion. They ended up taking all his money and documents. It was payday. He had planned to pay the rent, and now he had nothing to pay with. A couple of days later, he wrote a statement and left the hospital, although the doctors discouraged him. He called his brother and told him everything as it was, but he just shrugged his shoulders and told Alex to make his own way. Everyone is an adult and should solve their own problems. The landlord didn't make any concessions either and kicked the guy out the door with all his devious attempts. There was no choice. He took his things and went wherever he wanted to go. No passport, no driver's license, no money to work, and no one took his money. So began his wandering life from city to city. Over the past few years, he's changed several places. until he invented this little town where Jenna lived. And then he was lucky enough to find an abandoned house and stayed for a long time. And now Alex stood in front of Jenna and prayed to all the gods that Helen would lose the power of speech and not be able to utter another word. But that was not to be. Have you known this Alexander long? I just didn't recognize him. He's the homeless guy you're always buying pies with. He begs at the supermarket across the street from your house. I didn't recognize him. All we did was wash him and save his beard. Maria spoke loudly and was very pleased with herself, and even too loud, because the guests at the neighboring tables began to look back at them. Jenna immediately recognized him. Why did he seem so familiar? She saw those eyes almost every day, but the behavior of her friends infuriated her. She turned sharply to the guys, reached out her hand, went, "You're crazy. Where are you going with him?" Maria was indignant. "You did not realize who he is." Supported Helen. "I do. But you don't realize that homeless people are people too. And that makes me sad." Alex got up from the table and approached Jenna. They left the place under the gaze of the people present. The first few minutes they walked in silence. Alex was terribly embarrassed. Was Jenna angry? "Why did you agree to this?" she asked, unable to stand the tension. "I didn't know. I was offered a bath and a good meal. For a small favor, I just couldn't refuse. But who knew it would end up like this?" He looked so defenseless that Jenna felt sorry for him. "To washing. For ordinary people, this procedure is so familiar. And here it's a reward, a gift of fate. A man would do anything for it. Forget it. How did you end up on the street? Will you tell me?" Alex nodded and offered her a walk in the park. They wandered along the paths for about 2 hours, changing benches. And he was telling. The girl listened attentively, asked questions, and more came to the conclusion that everyone in this world has his own destiny. Some are luckier than others, and some are less fortunate. "Why didn't you go to the police?" she wondered. "The documents were stolen. Maybe they could have helped you there. I wanted to, but I fell asleep on a bench outside the house. The residents called the police, and they took me away. I tried to explain that I'd been robbed, but nobody would listen. They said if I didn't leave town soon, they'd lock me up. Fine me for what? And I didn't want to risk it. The prospect of going to jail for a few years didn't appeal to me either. Does your brother know you're homeless? He won't return my calls. I don't have the money to go to New York, and I don't have any documents. Besides, I can't find him there. I was in my hometown the other day, found out he sold his mother's house. Or rather, the land. Yeah, it's a situation." For some time they sat silently on the bench, and each thought about his own. "Where do you live now?" "Gas station on the outskirts of the city. It has long been empty there, and at night, and during the day they wander in search of food. By the way, I've been meaning to thank you for the pies and coffee. You have no idea how much I enjoyed them. Always hot." Alex smiled. "And your mom, who was she?" Jenna continued to ask questions. She worked at the school until the last junior high teacher. "My father was a driver, as well as I wanted to open a category to work as a trucker. But I guess it wasn't meant to be. To be honest, I don't even remember what it's like to live a normal life. But thanks to your friends, today was a refreshing memory." "Yeah, they were friends. I'll give you that." They sat in silence for a while. And then Jenna asked, "And you fundamentally in the city to live in the village is not suitable?" "Yes, I don't care," smiled Alex. "Now the weather is good, but in winter the cold will start again. That's the most difficult period. And why do you ask? Just I have a house there is empty. I inherited it from my grandmother. It's not a palace, of course, but everyone gets one. I'm sure it's warm. They'll renovate the school, and there's a pond nearby where the local men catch redfish. Anyway, I can let you go there. You'll find some work there. Grandmothers can help with household chores, at least for food. In short, if you want, you can get out of it." Alex was extremely surprised. He was used to the fact that people shun him like a leper. And Jenna also offers accommodation. "So you're not afraid to mess with me, just let a stranger stay here." "Well, why not? Grandma's house. I think she'd approve. My grandmother was very kind. I can help with money, of course, but not very often." I have a small salary myself. No money. Refused the same Alex. If there's a pond and fish, I won't go hungry. So let's go. With a smile asked his new acquaintance. What about right now? Why drag it out? Are the buses still running? Or do you need to pack some things? Your friend has my bag, and in it, things dear to me, and I would like to take it. No problem. Then let's go to Maria's. Jenna jumped up from the bench so abruptly that she felt a little dizzy. Apparently the champagne hadn't completely eroded. They went into Maria, who showed her displeasure, but did not say anything. Then they went to Jenna and got the keys to Grandma's house, and an hour later they were on the bus. The journey was to take an hour and a half. The young people reached the village in the dark. The house was cozy and warm inside. All that needed to be done was a little airing and tidying up. The old furniture was covered with a thick layer of dust, but Alex was cheering. Without a doubt, this was 100 times better than freezing cold on the edge of town. But how do you like it? Jenna smiled and looked at the guy, and when she saw his eyes glowing with gratitude, she understood. Words were not needed. While Alex cleaned up the room, Jenna quickly cut sandwiches and spared the eggs. They bought groceries on the way to the house, and after dinner, looking into the room, the girl was extremely surprised. It was very clean. And then her attention was attracted by an unfamiliar thing, a photograph, which stood on the dresser. Who is it? She asked Alex, taking the picture in her hands. My parents are the only thing I have left. I took this picture with me in the army, so it was kept, but everything else was burned. It's one of those things you really care about. Yes, I haven't parted with it all these years. Alex returned to the kitchen and began to wash the dishes, while Jenna watched him silently thinking about something. And then suddenly she asked, I just don't understand. According to your story, you were beaten, robbed. Why didn't the police do anything about it? They should have been the first to come to your aid? I agree. I don't understand it myself. I wondered why they were trying so hard to run me out of town. And then I came to the conclusion that they were connected to the gang. I have no other explanation, and my friends wouldn't stop. Jenna, you've lived in this town all these years. Was there no one to help at all? Alex smiled sadly. I wasn't a very sociable guy when I was in school. No, I had some buddies before the army. We spent a lot of time with them. But when I got back, half of them were in jail and half of them had left town. It wasn't a very good company. To be honest, I'm even glad I escaped from them in the army, so to speak. They made a man out of me there. There were guys I worked with, but we didn't have time to make friends. And at work, wasn't there any paperwork to prove your identity? Jenna kept trying to get to the bottom of it. Box wouldn't even listen to me. He said from the start that he didn't need such a lousy employee, that he would only go bankrupt with me. But he looked strange. It was like he'd been forced to do it. What makes you think that? Because he apologized, pointed firmly at the door, but still apologized, as if he was sorry he had to do that to me. I wonder who it was that had to be smart. Think for yourself. A lot of water has passed since then. Several times I tried to restore documents when I already lived in other cities, came or got to the police, and told them what and how they tried to find in the database evidence that I wrote a statement about the robbery and loss of documents. But it wasn't there. It was like there was nothing at all, you know? No trace of it. And they all told me to go home, and they'd sort it out locally. But I couldn't go back there. I mean, they told me to get out of here. Hurry up. Very interesting, like in the movies, Jenna said wistfully. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in that situation. Okay, I'm done. I have an idea. I won't get your hopes up, but maybe we can find a way out. We'll figure it out in the morning. Right now, I'm tired and sleepy. I'll sleep in Grandma's bedroom, and you can sleep in the other room. I'll do that. No problem, as long as it's on the floor and not outside. Why on the floor? It's unnecessary to have a couch in the room. We'll find some bedding. A new life begins, Alex. Time to get used to the comforts of home. It's not a 5-star hotel, but it's still comfortable. Oh, really? I'm thrilled. Honestly, I still can't believe I'm on the bright side. I mean, can things really get better in my life? This morning, Alex woke up earlier than he used to. No light, no dawn. Jenna didn't wake him up. He decided to explore the neighborhood. And when he went outside, he couldn't believe his eyes. It was so beautiful around. He walked around the house, noted for himself what needed to be repaired. He found a stock of firewood, left from the time when his grandmother was alive, and he was overjoyed. He found some fruit trees at the end of the house. The apples were not ripe yet, but the plums were already sweet. He picked a few for Jenna. There were also pear and apricot trees. Apparently, Grandma was a good hostess. When Alex was walking along the overgrown weedy vegetable garden, he saw one of the neighbors and immediately waved to him. The man looked at him strangely, but responded to the greeting. When he returned home, he found Jenna awake and making breakfast sandwiches out of leftover bread and ham. The kettle was whistling on the stove. "Good morning," Alex said. "Good morning. Have you been out?" "Yes. Imagine, there's even wood in the barn." "We should also check the cellar," Anna advised. After breakfast, Alex suggested we go to the pond, have a look and get some fresh air. Maybe even go fishing. Jenna agreed. She hadn't been to the pond for a long time, nor had she been fishing. They found a couple of fishing rods in the barn, a shovel to dig for worms, and they hit the road. But 5 minutes later, they were already there. The pond was very close. All around, all fallen green. Ducks were swimming in the water. You could tell they were domesticated. They weren't afraid of people. Jenna loved this place very much. She used to come here as a child with her father, then with her ex-husband, Alex. And the whole time, they hardly spoke. Everyone was busy doing their own thing while she put away the fishing rods. Toth went out to get worms. To her surprise, he returned a few minutes later with a jar of fat worms that were just as eager to be hooked. And an hour later, they already had several fish in the bucket, enough not only for lunch, but also for dinner. The young people were about to return home, where there was still much to do, when a middle-aged man approached the pond. "Who are you?" he asked sternly. "Greg, good afternoon. Don't you recognize me?" "I'm Jenna, Grandma Nina's granddaughter," laughed the girl. "It's really pathetic." "Grew attack," he replied. Looking closer, "What are you doing here?" Or just decided to show her husband our fabulous pond. Meet Alex. But he's not a husband, he's a friend. He's staying at Grandma's house for a while. "Why don't you stay in town?" "Got caught up in a situation. You're hiding?" the uncle asked cautiously. "No, I just missed the fresh air." And he likes fishing very much. Speaking of you, Ben, still the local district officer. Ben Jenna's been friends with Ben since she was a little girl. When she visited her grandmother, they spent a lot of time together. The guys had a lot of experiences. There were pleasant memories and those that would like to forget. In a word, they were as weird as they could be. "Yes, of course," Greg replied. "Where can he go?" "What are you interested in?" "Yes, I wanted to see him," Jenna smiled. "I thought we could meet and talk about this and that." Greg smiled. Jenna turned back and answered, "So there he goes." As she looked into the distance, she saw the silhouette of a man approaching them, and soon she recognized it as the grown man of her childhood friend. "Wow, how's it going?" "Beard face," exclaimed Jenna and hurried towards him. "Yes, it can't be." "How long has it been, and what are you doing in our neighborhood?" Ben was surprised and hugged her lightly. Only he had been calling her Rad for a long time, since high school. She really was always in a hurry. She wanted to see everything while she was in the village. She couldn't stay in one place for more than half an hour, so that's how she was teased. "It's been a long time since anyone called me that," she said with a smile. "How are you?" "I hear you're a wife." "I am, and I just became a father." "I'm doing just fine." "What's it like being a husband yourself?" asked a friend, nodding in the direction of Alex. The friend went home to introduce. When she introduced the men to each other, they shook hands. Ben then positioned himself not far from them. She waited for a while the old friend threw both his fishing rods and approached him again. "Zen, I really need your help." He looked at her carefully and realized from his eyes that the matter was serious. Alex himself did not have the courage to approach, since recently he had been very wary of law enforcement officers. So he decided to sit back and wait. Jenna briefly outlined the situation that had happened to Alex. She answered a few other questions and soon named Alex himself. Murat, what a confusing story, Ben said, scrutinizing him. Who did you cross? How should I know? Alex answered softly. It seemed that he was afraid of Ben. And what do you want in the end? Just to get new documents or to get to the truth? Honestly, for me, I don't look back, but I want to restore my documents so that I can live normally. Normal means without looking back, but I understand you. Today's a day off, and tomorrow I'll see what I can do to help you. I hear you're staying at Grandma Nina's house. So as soon as I find out something, I'll find you myself. Understood, Alex nodded and went back to fishing. Jenna chatted with her old friend for a while and returned to her fishing rod. And half an hour later, the young men went home, leaving the other fishermen behind their fascinating occupation. Alex hadn't said another word since his conversation with Ben, and Jenna couldn't help but notice. What's the matter? She asked. Nothing. Nothing's wrong. I'm just worried about getting kicked out of here too. As soon as the police get involved, things don't always turn in my favor. You just don't trust people anymore. That's probably true. I won't argue with that. I've tried many times to settle things legally, and every time I've gotten the wrong end of the stick. I don't understand you, Jenna wondered. You know how many organizations we have that are supposed to help people like me who find themselves in difficult situations. But it's all beautiful, only in theory. And in practice, it turns out to be not so. The system has long been rotten, and there is very little justice in it. I thought there were more good people, but as luck would have it, I met a minority of them. I mean, even your girlfriends, in their actions, there's not much goodness in them either. And now that things have just gotten better, I'm very afraid of losing that. You don't want Jenna to help us. I don't know. Jenna, I'm worried that when you get back to town, he's gonna change his position. That's what I'm worried about. No, Alex, he's a good man, and he's very right. I know it's hard for you to trust a stranger, but please try. If anyone can help you, it will be him. I have no choice, the boy grinned. Well, we'll see. Alex started to clean the fish, and the greedy one decided to avoid the local store to buy some food. After all, there was practically nothing. I had to take everything at once, from salt and matches to household chemicals. She came home with 2 huge bags full of all sorts of stuff. Wow, why did you carry it all by yourself? Asked Alex, a little upset. He even wondered how she managed to carry it all so thin. Come on, Jenna replied, out of breath. I just didn't feel like running a few times, and we're going to fry fish. I bought her some vegetable oil. Yeah, I've already cleaned everything. I just need to find a frying pan. Why don't you put the bags out first, so you know where and what you're going to put? I'm gonna go check it out. Is the refrigerator working or not? Grandma's refrigerator was very old. There was a lot of dust inside. There were stains somewhere. I had to clean it for a long time before turning it on. And when we plugged it in, to Jenna's delight, it made a loud noise. It worked. While she was fiddling, Alex found a frying pan and started frying fish. Turns out he was pretty good at it. Alex was not the kind of person who was used to complaining about his fate. During the years of his life as a homeless man, there were all sorts of things. Sometimes it even happened that he didn't eat for a day or two. The feeling of hunger didn't bother him usually, but now that he had enough food, he was savoring every bite. He still couldn't believe that now he could live in a house that had not only walls and ceiling, but also a lot of household necessities. To his surprise, he wasn't even ashamed that Jenna had filled his refrigerator with food. Rather, he was grateful to her immensely. He believed that someday he would have the opportunity to thank her properly and repay her debts. And if not, he would at least remember her with warmth. He could not believe that he would be able to stay here for a long time, but he could appreciate the good things in life. After lunch, Jenna suggested he do a huge load of laundry. Unfortunately, her grandmother didn't have a modern washing machine, but there was an old one in the pantry. They had managed to bring water into the house a long time ago, but it was still a lot of work. You know, and I begin to understand, Ben, why he called you a rag. Alex smiled. You have good hearing, don't you? Jenna wondered. After all, when they were talking to Ben and Alex was standing quite far away. But yeah, I can't complain. You can't sit still. Well, of course, I have to go to work tomorrow, and I still have a lot to do before tonight. Are you going home tonight? Yeah, I'm taking the bus tonight. My cats have already cursed me. I've left them plenty of food and water, but they miss me. Do you have cats? I thought you were tearing up the grass in the driveway. Jenna looked at him in surprise. She hadn't realized that sometimes he watched her. After she walked away from the store he frequented. Why were you watching me? She asked with a smile. Peeping. That would be more accurate. Sometimes. You're a late-night shopper. I used to sit there till 10 o'clock when I saw I was home. I'd leave too. You got a lot of dogs out there, and some of them, if anything, aren't quite so well behaved. Jenna looked at him, trying to remember if she'd ever noticed him or not. Apparently not. And why was he doing it? She decided not to find out in the laundry. They did get started. The whole process took a couple hours. Alex did everything himself. Jenna was just telling him where to put things. After rummaging through the fashions, they found some of her father's old clothes. He'd worn them when he was in his early 30s. Apparently, he'd left them behind so he'd have something to change into when he came to visit. There were pants, shorts, t-shirts, socks. It all came in handy now. The dress suit Alex had been wearing at the cafe, he returned to Maria. In return, she gave him her husband's old clothes, clean tires, and that's what he'd been wearing all these days. His old clothes had been thrown away without even asking. At least now he had something to wear. It seemed to bother Jenna more than him, though. She chattered incessantly. Her mouth wasn't closed for more than a second, like a hen or a caring mother, spilling out advice, telling him which way the store was, which way was the shortcut, where the police post office was. Like he was a little kid and couldn't find anything on his own. Another on Alex's side would have resented it. But he listened intently, trying to figure out if he was interested or just liked her voice. When the laundry was done, it was already starting to get dark outside. It was time to get ready for the bus. Before leaving, she checked her cell phone. There were several missed calls from Lena and Maria. But she didn't call her friends back. She was still angry with them. She decided to tell them everything in person. Closing her purse, she suddenly remembered something important. Oh, I almost forgot. One last present for today. She took out of her bag an old cell phone, a cot, and then from her purse a SIM card and handed it to Alex. What for? Who am I going to call? He smiled. Well, at least to me, I've put my number there just in case. You'll tell me what Jenna will do with your documents. Okay, then you call me when we get there too, he asked, embarrassed. Then she pulled a couple hundred of their bills out of her wallet and held them out to Alex. Todd lowered his eyes. He didn't want to take the money, especially so much she pushed with her tongue, trying to ignore it, and put them on the dresser. But that was it. And I ran. No need to walk me home. The bus stop is across the street. The bus will be here any minute. I hope you settle in soon. I won't miss you. Call me if you need anything. Thank you, Jenna, for everything. Hello, cats. That last part made the girl smile a little. Usually no one said hello to her kitty. This was so cute. In front, she said and jumped out of the house. Alex went to the window, trying to see where the bus would pick her up. Jenna was right. Anna had only just approached the bus stop as transportation immediately pulled up. As the bus disappeared from his sight, Alex finally realized that this wasn't really a dream. He looked around. A house indeed. He could live here now. There is food in the fridge, he has fishing rods and a pond. Not far away is money on the dresser, just in case. The guy tried to remember the last time luck had smiled on him like that, but he couldn't. Suddenly, a plate with the heads from the roach caught his eye. Jenna had wanted to feed some neighbor's cat and had completely forgotten. So he took the plate and went out on the porch, put it on the edge of the porch so it wouldn't get caught in the door, and went into the house. There was still plenty to do. I didn't want to just sit around. I had to do something to take my mind off the sad thoughts. When Jenna left in the house, it became so quiet and empty, it was even surprising, as if she filled it with some warmth and coziness. Alex didn't get upset about it. He didn't expect her to live here with him. An hour or two later, when he went out for some fresh air, he noticed that it was completely dark outside. plate he'd left behind was empty. Sleeping on the bottom step was a gray, huge striped cat that didn't even twitch when Alex stepped out onto the porch. "But hey, buddy, how do you like your treats?" asked him Alex, as if the cat could answer him. The animal stretched and was ready to leave, but the man grabbed him in his tenacious hands and pulled him to himself. "Don't worry, you won't eat, I'll eat you." "I have a fridge full of food," Alex said, stroking the cat. "Let's be friends." For a few minutes he sat like that, talking to the cat and stroking his ear. He had already changed his mind to leave. He liked it himself. And suddenly Alex heard some strange, unfamiliar noise, which came from the house. At first he didn't realize what it was, but then he remembered the phone Jenna had left behind and jumped up sharply from the porch. Alex didn't immediately figure out how to answer it, but after a few seconds he found the right button. "Hello," he said hesitantly. "Hi, it's me, Jenna. I'm home. Are you okay?" "Hi. I'm fine. I made a new friend." "Who?" "Guess what? A wool sack with a mustache and a fluffy tail. And this is a kitty cat visiting." "Cats are good," Jenna replied with a smile. "Yes, kitties are good," Alex joked. Jenna froze in amazement for a second. But then, when she heard him chuckle, she guessed that it was a joke. "I don't know, I haven't tried it," she joked back. "But next time you come, take one of your own and we'll try it together." The thought of eating her cat made her sick for a second, but it was really funny. "Okay, I'll think about it. I'm glad you're doing well. I'm gonna go. I've got things to do. Good night." "Good night to you too," said Alex and hung up. Jenna got home about half an hour ago, but did not immediately remember that she had promised to call. Most of all, she wanted to take a shower and go to bed. She had been outstanding these past 2 days, tired from moving around. Not only that, after a bath, Jenna comfortably settled down on the couch and called her kitties to pet them. At the same time, she was watching the news on TV when someone rang the doorbell. It wasn't hard to guess who decided to drop by. While she was riding home on the bus, Maria managed to call her 10 times. Apparently, she was passing by or went to check on purpose. Saw a light in the window. That's why she went upstairs. When she opened the door, her hunch was confirmed. Maria was standing on the doorstep with Helen hiding behind her. "What do you want? With a challenge?" asked Jenna, looking at them both. Maria looked at her friend guiltily. She realized they'd overreacted when they came up with this stupid plan of theirs. "And you're still mad." "We all understand. We're here to make amends," she said and held out a bottle of wine. "It's a little late for a drink. I have to work tomorrow," Jenna replied grudgingly. "Jenna, I'm sorry about this. Now I know it's silly, but let us in, please." Zoma stepped a little to the side, allowing them to enter the apartment at least so that the neighbors wouldn't hear the conversation. Then all three of them made their way into the kitchen. Helen obligingly pulled 3 glasses from a cabinet and found a corkscrew in a drawer. And there was an avalanche. "What I don't understand is, what were you trying to accomplish?" Jenna asked. "But to be honest, I don't really understand it now either," Maria admitted. "I wanted to keep you away from all those beggars, both leather and furry. I thought that this Alex would start to behave in a boorish way. Nasty somehow, and you'd be turned away from them once and for all. And he turned out to be kind of normal, because they are normal. They're not normal. Just because a person's homeless doesn't mean they're fucked up. You even realize that. Look, but you're good too. You went off with him to the middle of nowhere. For 2 whole days. Where were you?" And Jenna briefly told them everything that had happened during that period. Her friends listened to her, and gradually their eyebrows rose in surprise. "Jenna, you're crazy. You let a stranger into Bacchus' house. He's going to take everything out of there tomorrow. He'll leave you nothing but empty walls. What will you do then?" Helen asked. Jenna shook her head. She hadn't expected them to understand. Girlfriends were very alien at times, unbreakable. Well, first of all, there's nothing to steal there. The house is old. Secondly, it's none of your business who I let in or where I go. When will you finally realize that I'm an adult and I have the right to make my own decisions, even if you don't like them? So no one but you likes them, Maria resented. Okay, I'm sorry. I realize in my heart I have too much pity for vagrants. So be it. I guess we'll have to accept it sometime. But you know if I were you, I'd take a closer look at that Alex. I think he's a bit cloudy. Mash, it's a good thing you're not in my shoes. By the way, he asked me to tell you thanks for the bath and food. He remembers human kindness. And thank you from me, too, for such an extraordinary acquaintance. I never would have thought to help him myself. I just wouldn't have dared if you hadn't cleaned him up. It would have been better if you hadn't, Helen muttered to herself, because she didn't like her friend's story. Don't fall in love with him. You need a normal man, not this one, suddenly said Maria. But then she caught Jenna's angry look. I wasn't planning on it. I just want to help him. He's not a bad man. He's just unlucky in life. Come on, help him out, but be careful. It's kind of a messy story with his IDs. Jenna's friends weren't really that awful. They went to church on holidays, gave their old stuff to the needy. When they could, once a year, they bought gifts for kids in orphanages. It seemed to them that it was necessary to help. But not everyone was worthy of their help. For example, the same vagrants are worthy. A rather strange categorization of the needy, but that's just the way it was. Jenna didn't share their opinion. She didn't think that if a cat was sick or dirty, she couldn't buy him the same sausage or some food. But so the world was asking for Maria drinking wine from a glass of peace. If you don't continue to be weird, Jenna replied and smiled. She didn't have that many girlfriends to lose the ones who were there for her. After all, they were the ones who had supported her when she divorced her first husband. And for that, she was still very grateful. Okay, when I get home, I'll pack your bum some more of my husband's old stuff. I'll bring a bag tomorrow. I hope you're not squeamish. Thank you. Not the homeless guy's name is Alex. Can it be Alex or Alex? No, he's not squeamish. Sure, bring him in. But it's really late, Helen agreed. Let's get out of here. We won't wake up for work in the morning. The week flew by. There was enough work to do, but for some reason my wife was in such a good mood that everything came easily. On the weekend, she was going to visit a new acquaintance, and at the same time to check how things were going with his documents. They'd only talked on the phone once in that time, and Anna hadn't understood a thing either. Hey, Jenna came by. She asked when she called him. Hi, but it's not clear yet. He said he'd help out, but mostly I'm helping him. Not for free, but I'm helping him. I've already met the neighbors, but they still look at me kind of weird. It's okay, they're just old. Maybe they're afraid of new people. What do you help Ben with? Various things. Let me tell you later. I have to run. All right, we need a speaker. This time Jenna came with a bag of things to bring. She left early on Saturday, and by 10 o'clock, she was on her grandmother's doorstep knocking on doors. Only no one opened the door for her. Jenna nudged the door with her foot. It was unlocked. Stepping inside, she looked around. Alex was nowhere to be found, but nothing had changed in the house, except it was cleaner. There was a pot of soup on the stove, still hot. She opened the pot and smelled the odor. It was a little strange, not spicy for sure, not pork or beef either. Did he really eat the cat? Jenna thought to herself and smiled. Just at that moment, the cat, who had just woken up, lazily came out from under the table, beautiful and rustic. She was relieved at first, but then she thought again. What if this one was a spare? She smiled to herself and her silly thoughts. And then she went to look for Alex, hoping that he was somewhere in the yard or nearby. The Monday morning after Jenna left, Alex woke up early. He had a few things planned for the day, and he wasn't used to sleeping long. He spent the afternoon fixing the barn, and then he came in to cook. He decided that it was better to save food, so for now he should cook soup. It was tasty and nourishing, and it wouldn't hurt to heal my stomach a little. Street life often gave him heartburn, but he was used to it. Warm broth worked wonders, so it was decided to make soup with chicken and vegetables. Alexander cooked it in less than an hour and ate it. Then he took a nap after lunch. He woke up from a loud knock at the door, and opening the door, Ben's voice was heard. Alex shuddered with surprise and quickly got up and went to open the door, even though it was unlocked. Good afternoon, he said when he came out. And don't you take care. I have a conversation. Come on in. Yes, we can use your name, the policeman answered and entered the house. He looked around, assessed the situation. On his face, it was noticeable that he was quite satisfied with what he saw in the house clean and smells great food. The owner is not drunk, so everything is fine. Can I offer you something? There's soup. Can I make tea? No, thank you. I've already had lunch. I lied, Ben. Didn't want to go around this guy, although he did like the smell of the house. Anyway, I looked you up in the database. There's good news and bad news. Which one should I start with? Well, let's start with the bad. Well, the bad news. Okay, the bad news. Well, congratulations are in order. The paperwork says you've been dead for 5 years. What a surprise. How so? Well, it's like this. You were first declared missing and then dead. That's why your brother was able to sell the house. But there's some weird stuff in there too. It wasn't your brother who was looking for you, but your former boss, the one you worked for. In short, it's a pretty slick case. What does that mean? It means someone really wanted the land your house was on. That's how these cases usually turn out. Apparently, your local law enforcers forgot that the bad 90s are long behind them and used some of their old schemes. I looked into it more, and it's not just your house that's been sold, but several others. Do the police have access to such data? Surprised Alex. Well, if you know where to look, you can dig up a lot of things. For example, your brother still lives in New York. He has not changed his place of residence, which means that he probably did not get the money, although his signature is on the deed to the house. The curious thing is that development in those areas started much earlier than all the houses were sold. I would say that someone older than me should be sent there to sort it out, but it probably won't do any good. The roof is solid. If the guys think they're immortal or insured. Hearing about his brother, Alex was even a little relieved. The last thing he wanted to know was that his older brother had something to do with all this. Sometimes the worst thoughts came into his head. What's the good news? He asked, almost hopelessly. There is good news too. If you want, I can help you restore the documents. True, I'll have to break the rules a little, maybe fabricate some certificates. But we live in the middle of nowhere. I don't think anyone's gonna check. I'm not sure you can travel abroad with a passport like that. If they dig deep, they'll get to the truth. But you can live here without any problems. And they'll hire you. Alexander couldn't believe his ears. Usually everyone dismissed him. No one tried to help. Will it work this time? And you'll do it for me. Your wife asked for you, and I can't say no. But I warn you, if you turn out to be a maniac or something worse, I'll put you in jail myself. No, I'm not a maniac. That's for sure. I won't be a problem. I promise. Well, that's great. Then come to the station tomorrow, and we'll see how best to formalize everything. By the way, are you doing something important today? Asked Ben. No, not really. Why? I'm gonna go fix my dad's roof now. Before the rainy season starts, and I could use a couple more hands. Yeah, I'm not very good at roofing. But if you tell me what's going on. Yeah, sure, I'll tell you. Come on then, and Mother will feed us a hot dinner in gratitude. Alexander agreed, and 15 minutes later they were sitting on the roof of his father's house. Greg lived nearby. He wasn't very happy about the new employee, but he wouldn't let them climb on the roof. Age. His back often ached. He knew that Jenna alone would take a long time to mess around, so he didn't object. When they were done, his wife Lydia set the table, baked potatoes with lard under poured homemade sausage, and drew fresh vegetables. And 50 was offered by the master of the house. No, thank you. I don't drink. I'm sure he refused. But as you know, the race itself is fine. He poured himself and his son for appetite. Lydia tended to her guest. Everything smelled delicious. Did you serve? Asked Greg, looking at Alex. I served. Where? On the border. And rank? Sergeant. Good, approvingly, said Greg, and started eating. Alex ate in silence, trying not to join the conversation. There was nothing much to tell about himself, and it was unlikely that they would be interested in listening. And his wanderings, it seemed so unusual to be in the company of people again, who look at him like a normal person. He certainly enjoyed it. And after dinner, he bowed out and headed home. Do you even remember where to go? Ben asked. You didn't get lost. No, I'm good at remembering the way. Professional, so to speak, joked Alex. And the next morning he went to the station, as Ben asked, but the policeman was not there. Tomorrow he will be gone till evening, said the duty officer. Almost the whole day the guy was engaged in repairing an old shed. Then sawed branches on some trees for better fruit. And the next day, Ben himself came to him to tell him that he was dealing with the teenagers who were robbing the grocery store. Took all day to deal with them. Not today either. But I need your help. My dad likes the roofs patched, and they want to see the barn. There's a leak there, too. You're coming. Alexander agreed. Again he worked with Ben all day, and in the evening he was fed. Nourishing food to take with him. They gave him a piece of homemade lard. A nice one, with meat veins, and a loaf of homemade bread. Come back tomorrow for sure. I hope everything will be quiet. We'll take care of your problem, Jenna assured him goodbye. Thursday and Friday also failed to catch Ben on the spot. But Alexander did not despair. Somehow he was sure that this man would not deceive him. It was just the way things were. We'll have to wait a little longer. What? And Alex was good at waiting. Jenna arrived over the weekend. She looked around the house, but couldn't find Alex. But she noticed that there were no daughters in the barn. The girl immediately guessed that he went fishing. Not thinking long, she put the guests in the refrigerator and herself by her hair in a bundle and rolled up her jeans. Went to the pond too. As she got closer, she noticed a familiar silhouette. The girl seemed quite quiet, and only when she got close to him loudly said hello missing. Alexander shuddered with surprise. Hi, I didn't know you were coming, he said with a smile. But if you read the texts, you would know. I don't know how. You'll teach me. But I guess I'll have to. As long as it's a deal, you're welcome to join us. Of course, taking the second rod. As practice shows, the fish likes you more than me. Alex laughed, remembering how last time she pulled out more fish than him. So it's because I and affectionate words to say when the rod casts. What kind of words? Just the usual ones, to catch more fish. And here it is that you need to try too. Cheerfully he answered. For a few minutes they sat in silence. And then already Ankit asked, What is it? Jenna advances are in the process. Could you be a little more detailed, she asked. Alexander told her how his week had gone. And it was clear that nothing was clear yet. Well, let's hope he finds the time. He promised. That's what Jenna said when she listened to the end of it. It's okay, I'll wait. Let's hope so. I mean, that'd be great. And you're here to check up on me. Well, actually, I brought you some clothes. Maria packed, and I bought you some goodies. You haven't returned my calls the last couple days. I thought maybe you were sick. Or drunk, he joked. No, I just can't seem to get used to this phone. I only remember it when it rings. I'm not used to them, you know, and I don't drink either. I never said you did. Jenna said wryly and gave him a reproachful look. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. By the way, I could use some clothes. Last time I got so out of it that I had to wash all my clothes. I kept walking around the house in my shoes and worrying about who was coming to visit. Jenna remembered that strange soup and decided to ask, Alex, what did you make the soup out of? It smells good, but it's so unusual. He smiled and looked at her, even looked into the pot. Clever girl, how? Or curious? Just see the woods nearby. I put Silken's hairs there. There was one big one on Thursday, but I used it for soup. There's almost half of it left in the freezer. I'm done. Do I look like a master of all hands? The girl was surprised. Just don't shoot the neighbor's ducks. They won't swear. Jenna made a joke. So, it's good soup. She wouldn't stop. Well, when we get back from fishing. You can try it. I liked it. By the way, hare meat is very useful. Tough and a little bit, but useful. I've never eaten hare before, she admitted. I'd love to try it. They were sitting on the shore and chatting merrily when they heard Ben shouting behind them. I've been looking all over the village for you, and he's fishing. Oh, Jenna, hi. He came closer, shook Alexander's hand. He poked his friend on the cheek, looked into the bucket of fish and smiled. Wow, that's quite a catch. I'll have to give you 40 to keep the fish in the water, not in the bucket. Did it choke? I should. I agreed with Jenna, noticing one red snapper already swimming upside down. In her hands, Ben had some kind of folder. He opened it and turned to Alexander. Anyway, I've filled out all the paperwork for you. All you need is your signature. I'll take them to our passport lady myself. There will be no objection. Alex was very surprised, but smiled. Did his question move from the dead point? And so unexpectedly. Was it possible? But if you really want, you can fly into space. I heard you wiping your hands, because I'm not going to be here until tonight. Alexander quickly signed where Ben had indicated in passing. He read what he was at least signing. It was really the documents that were needed. The passport application and other certificates. The rest of the paperwork is just a matter of hours. When it's ready, I'll let you know. Ben left and Alexander looked at his friend in surprise. He was not accustomed to see such soulful district police officers. In his life, he usually met others. It's cool at your place, buddy, he said only. Yeah, Jenna's a savvy, small, fussy, little, but savvy. We had a lot of fun together as kids. Do you think it's really possible? I mean, do you think he filled it out himself? I mean, he would have signed it already. But I guess you have to sign it. Just make sure he doesn't make any literacy mistakes. He wasn't very literate in his time, she laughed. Alexander thought. It was necessary to check the correctness of the spelling of his name and surname. Why be upset now? And in fact, what difference does it make? Documents are still documents. How's it going? I was wondering about Jenna. I see you found a lot of interesting things to do around here. Met the neighbors. Alex did not have time to answer anything because their attention was distracted. Svetlana, who was walking along the road past the pond. It was a pretty girl about 25 years old who lived in the house across the street. She smiled so sweetly, winked at Alexander and sang. Hi, Alex. You're catching fish. Jenna looked at this Svetlana in surprise. Cute girl, just a bit out of Anna, and she hadn't seen her here before. Hi, nodded Alexander, waving slightly. Stata walked past, every now and then turning around to get a better look at her possible rival. She had met Alex a couple of days ago, and she liked him very much. Last year, Stata's parents bought a house nearby. Apparently, they decided that it was more fun to live in nature. Their daughter often came to visit them with her children. She had two of them, a boy and a girl. From her looks, it was clear at once that she was single, though she was. She was very good at shooting her eyes. Only Alexander didn't seem to care much. When the light disappeared behind the trees, Jenna asked, Why are you so silent? There's a beautiful girl. What a girl is coming on to you. And you don't have a single muscle on your face. What do I have to do with it? Alex was indignant. I'm not the one who's hitting on her. Well, you should have. See what happens. Jenna will handle the paperwork. We'll get you and Jenna. Alexander looked either hurt or a little annoyed. You know, I wasn't planning on it. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I must have said something wrong. I didn't mean to offend you. I just thought it would be nice if you became a family man. A family man. You need a job and a house to start with, and I'm not ready for that yet. In fact, let's change the subject. She nodded and didn't bring it up again. She talked a little about how her week had gone, and then she suggested that we wrap it up. I really wanted to try that wonderful soup. Come on, feed me quickly, she demanded with the smile of a small child when they entered the house. I'll warm it up for now, and you sit down at the table and shout porridge. Porridge, parried Jenna. Without thinking, I did exactly as he suggested. It looked pretty funny, and just then, another guest knocked on the door. It was Svetlana. Hi, can I be impertinent? Asked the girl and came in without waiting for an answer. I thought I'd bring you some fried fish and cherry pies. Just out of 5. The guests were staring at Jenna so intently that she felt uncomfortable. It was like they were undressing her with their eyes. I said light. She extended her hand in greeting. Jenna, nice to meet you. How long have you lived here? I haven't seen you around here before. I haven't seen you here either. Let's go with you. Okay, you're visiting. Visiting, Jenna smiled. She'll be a long time. So what's it gonna be? What are you interested in? Asked Jenna. She was definitely enjoying this game. I was just asking if you wanted a pie. No, I want soup. I don't like cherry pie. I don't like Alexander either, by the way. She lied to piss off a new acquaintance, yeah. He really liked them last time. There was nothing left to live for. I wondered when the last time had been, but I didn't dare to ask again. He only mumbled out of politeness, probably. Alexander stood near the stove and watched this quiet catfight from a distance. He was very curious how it would end. It was not the first time Sveta tried to make eyes at him. The second time she came to visit with pies. She clearly wanted something more, but she didn't say so directly in his eyes. Want some? Alex offered. Soup? No. If you offered me sushi, rolls, or noodles with shrimp, I'd say yes. You could ask me to a restaurant, for example. If you think you know where I live and soup, let him eat. She said snidely and said goodbye to them. To a restaurant. With what money? I wonder? Thought to himself Jenna, but said nothing aloud. It was immediately clear that the girl's inquiries are not weak. She values herself too highly. Alexander put a bowl of soup on the table, and he went back for another portion for himself. When he sat down at the table, also he jumped. Shit, I forgot to buy bread again. I brought a baguette. It's on the fridge. I'd cut it myself, but I can't. It smells so good. Jenna said cheerfully and started tasting the soup. Old Alex didn't bother. He just broke the baguette into pieces and put it on the table. A magician, she said with a smile. Unusual, but a magician. Did you and your friends dream it up? He asked with his mouth full. She nodded silently. Listen, have you tried looking up your brother on social media? He still doesn't know you're alive. I'm sorry if I'm prying. I just thought no. Alex cried out with hope in his voice. I don't mind. I just don't know how to do it. Well, we can't find anyone on your phone. But from my phone, Jenna took out her smartphone and opened the social network. Since his name is Peter Collins, she dictated aloud to herself. And the age. Well, if I'm 32, he's 47. 32. For some reason, Jenna thought Alexander was definitely over 35. Apparently, life demanded it. She typed in all the search info and name, age, city. And pictures of men appeared on the screen. There were quite a few with the same information. But now it's up to you. If you recognize your brother in the photo, give a shout. Alexander tried for several minutes to find a photo of his brother, but kept bumping into other people's faces. How many could there be? People with the same first and last name in New York. As it turned out, quite a few. Finally, his luck ran out. He saw a picture of Peter with his wife. That's the one. What's he gonna do next? Well, we'll write him a message, Jenna said and started typing. Hello, Peter. I have some information about your brother. Please write to me or call me on the phone. She asked. Yes, write yours while I can't hear the phone. Asked Alex. She added her phone number, hoping that the man would answer immediately. But the miracle did not happen. For several minutes they sat and stupidly PR'd on the phone, but nothing changed. The message was not read. No reply. Okay, don't feel bad. It might be a busy weekend. If he answers or calls, I'll let you know right away. If you want it faster, carry your phone in your pocket. For example, businesslike, added Jenna. But for the sake of something like this, you could certainly wear it. Only now Alexander realized how long it had been since he had seen his brother and how much he missed him. As a child, Petya was almost the most dear person to him. His parents were always away at work, and his brother was always there for him. Yes, sometimes he could scold and give him a spanking, but most of the time they were friends, despite the rather large age difference. What are we going to do? Asked Alex, trying to distract himself from sad thoughts. I don't know, we could go for a walk in the woods in the village. Haven't been there in 100 years, just for fun, or for mushrooms. We could go for mushrooms, if we can find them. I know a clearing where there were a lot of them. There's a tracksuit in the bag. I think it would be perfect for such an occasion. We tried it on. It was only now that Jenna remembered the bag of clothes. Maria had done her best. She'd given me some decent clothes. Maybe, of course, they were out of fashion, but who in the village cared? In a couple of minutes, Alexander was already standing in a new tracksuit and pulling up his shoes. And Jenna found an old borscht in the barn and took out a small knife. "We've got a small basket," Alexander joked, seeing that there was nowhere to put the mushrooms. "I always have one thing for such an occasion," smiled Jenna and took out a small package from her pocket. How Alexander was surprised when in a second this small package turned into a deep bag with handles. It was made of a very thin but quite strong fabric. "You're quite the magician." When the purse was full of mushrooms, Jenna suggested we go home. "Well, it's a shame to leave. Look, they're everywhere, under that tree and over there. We can go again tomorrow. Anyway, we don't have any more containers. We can't carry it in our hands." "Yeah, what if someone picks them up tomorrow?" Alexander was indignant. "Don't be greedy with big mushrooms for everyone. We lied so much, what will we do with them?" "Yes, anything we can make stew, fry, even freeze until better times." "What about you, pickling? Do you know how to pickle mushrooms?" Jenna asked. "No, but we can ask your phone." "You're always asking him things, aren't you?" Asked Google all sorts of things. If I didn't know something, I didn't hesitate to ask what different bugs or flowers were called. Just today, I was just sitting here reading about the benefits of the wonderful. All right, I'll ask the great Google. He knows everything. It was a half-hour walk home, if not more. They were deep into the woods. Good thing the paths kept them on the road. And the village was already peeking out from behind the bushes. So first, we have to soak them. Let's start there, she suggested, realizing it was the easiest part of the process. And at the same time, we can get some rest. The girl laid down on the old couch in the living room and began to read the rap further. In principle, there was nothing complicated about it. Jenna already wanted to tell Alexander about it, when suddenly she saw that she received a message from his brother. There was his phone number, but opening the correspondence, she saw a few more messages. "Who are you?" "My brother's dead." "What do you know about him?" "What do you want?" And a phone number. Jenna got up from the couch and walked towards Alex. She looked a little worried, but Alexander didn't immediately guess what it was about. Peter answered the phone. Alex was excited at first, but after a second he was relieved. It was obvious from his eyes that the cockroaches in his head were fighting hard. She wondered what he was thinking at that second, but she never dared to ask. He pondered for a moment. Alexander confidently said call. They sat down next to each other on the couch. Jenna dialed Peter's phone number and put it on speakerphone. No one had asked her to do that, but she was so curious to hear what they were going to talk about that she couldn't resist. The beeps and the beeps. It seemed endless. But Peter did answer. "Who is it?" he asked. "Hello, brother," Alex answered, and even a little tear from surprise. "Alex, is really you. I'm still here." Peter immediately passed out. Maybe he couldn't stand the tension or was scared, or maybe he just didn't believe it. I mean, it's a lot of things for them to think about. But just a few seconds later, Jenna's phone came back on. "But that was a video call. Can you do that too?" Alexander wondered, and Jenna immediately pressed the answer button. Now the brothers were face to face. Both looked a little dumbfounded. "Alex, I can't believe my eyes. You've grown up. Oh, it's you. Hi. You didn't get any younger either?" Alex answered cheerfully, looking at his brother's face. "Where have you been? They told me you were dead." Peter looked sad and spoke quite truthfully. There was no point in doubting his words. "And that's why you sold Mother's house." "Oh, it's a long story, Alex. There's so much going on. I'm in no hurry. Go ahead." "Okay, I'm in no hurry either. Listen, while you're at it, keep me in mind. I'm gonna have a couple questions for you later too, and I'd love to answer them. But you tell me first, who's that with you?" Suddenly my brother asked, seeing Jenna out of the corner of his eye. "Your wife is beautiful." She wrinkled her nose a little, but tried not to show that the man. "Hello, my name is Jenna, and no, we're not married. And I'm very interested in hearing your story too. It's really important. Tell it." The man thought for a few seconds, trying to figure out where to start. Anyway, it was winter. When Peter finished his story, Alexander was shocked. He hadn't realized that he'd gotten it too. Of course, he wasn't recognized as dead. To take over their parents' house, but it had not been easy either. The year Alexander left his hometown for his brother, a man came to New York. He was a stout man in his 30s. He looked like a gangster. At first, he politely asked him to sell the house, but Peter refused. Said he didn't believe his brother was dead. Said he'd be looking for him. Replied harshly to the man. But soon he regretted it very much. It was winter. He was driving home in his car when he was suddenly cut off by a foreign car. In that accident, he was seriously injured and hospitalized. In that accident, he was seriously injured and ended up in hospital. And when Peter, all renamed, was lying in the ward, that man came to him again. He leaned over him and quietly said, "Well, now, are you ready to sign the documents?" The brother was not on a joke scared. He did not immediately, but guessed that the accident was not accidentally recognized the car on which that type came. Still, he didn't want to agree. Well, if not, what then? It's not just my house, it's Alex's. You'll never see your brother again. Don't worry about him anymore. If you want to go after him, I'll help you. I hope your wife will be more talkative. Although I can give her a nice day out too. Maybe then you'll think about it. I've heard. You have a kid already. I love babies. They have such tender necks. That's when Peter realized it was more serious than he thought. There was nothing to do. He agreed to sign the papers the man brought him. He promised not to return to his hometown, not to look for his brother, and to forget this story forever. It is clear that he did not get any money for this piece of land, but he was glad that his family was no longer threatened. True, he made attempts to find Alex, but everything was unsuccessful. According to all the documents, the younger brother was listed as dead. Dashingly, they made it all up, and quickly, and did not even observe the deadlines. It was useless to prove anything to anyone. Yeah, if I'd known you were alive, I never would have stopped. Alex, where do you want to be now? Move in with me, I'll help you. You're my brother, we have no one left but each other. I can't come yet. I don't have papers. If you want to come, come yourself. I'll be glad to see you when I get a chance. But I can't get out until next week. I'll need to find a good deputy, and you'll wait for me. Yeah, of course I will. Where am I going to go from a submarine? Alex replied with a smile. He was glad that he managed to find Peter and dictated his number to him. After all, Jenna was going home soon, and Peter promised to call again. On that note, they said goodbye. Jenna was as happy as Alex and did not hide it. His life could soon change a lot. Ben promised to help with the documents. In him she was sure, and if she managed to establish a relationship with her brother, it would be much better than before. Do you think it would be enough to mow the mushrooms? He asked after a few minutes of silence. They just sat on the couch and tried to realize everything that had just happened. I don't know, maybe it's enough. I've already forgotten about them completely. You're glad you found them? Yeah, of course I am. Thank you. Do you think he'll come? I'm sure he will. I just don't know when. Peter's always been a busy man. All right, let's go do some mushrooms. It's all in the brain. By the end of the day, they managed to prepare a few pickled mushrooms, and the rest they fried and then stewed with sour cream. It turned out very tasty. In the evening, Ben came to visit them. He wanted to have a little chat with his old friend, since she's been coming here so often. He brought with him a bottle of homemade wine, which was made by his mother from grapes grown in their garden. The girl did not refuse to drink a glass, but did not calculate that it was so strong, and after an hour she felt her eyes closing from fatigue, so as not to fall asleep at the table. She went to another room, and the men decided to talk a little more. "And you do not drink on principle?" Ben asked. "Well, you could say that. In fact, I drank a little when I was a kid, but never much. And there was a period in my life that I don't remember because of alcohol, and I don't want to go back to it." "And when was that?" "About 2 years after I became homeless. One day, I found a case of vodka outside a store. It was nighttime. Nobody was around. So I privatized it. I lived in the same basement back then. It was quiet. Anyway, for a few days, so to speak, I ate only vodka. I didn't even have the strength to get food. I only came to my senses when it ran out. Then for a couple more days, I just lay there comatose. I thought I was gonna die in that basement. And after that, I realized that alcohol is gonna kill me. I just don't want to. Life may be right for you. You don't need to drink. I'm just getting my life back on track. Can I ask you a question? Of course you can ask, but when you get your papers, you'll find out the truth. Like what? You know, whether you want to deal with the people who took your house and hurt your brother. Not to mention you. You know, I've thought about it. I've thought about it a lot. I used to think I needed revenge, but now I've decided it's much better to let it go. I couldn't do much about it then. I probably can't do it now. What's the point in making the same mistakes again? That's what I'm saying. You don't want to go back in there. You should stay with us. I'll talk to our head foreman, Viktor Olgovich. He'll hire you as a tractor driver instead of Stetka. I forgot. You can't always ask him for help. Senya, the black ones. Could you drive a tractor? Yes, I think so. I'd have to study and remember some things, but I'm sure I could. And this Jacob will want me. Well, give him my background. Why would he know? Why don't you be a little less? Tell anyone about it. Just a new man in the village. You don't need to know anything. It's better to start fresh. My parents won't say anything. I guarantee you that. They're not stupid people and they don't talk. By the way, how do you like Svetka? I hear she's tailing you and twirling you around. Oh, I think she just wants to find a new father for her kids. If she knew who I was, she wouldn't have come within a kilometer of me, Alex answered with a smile. That's not what I asked. What do you think of her? No way, to be honest, she's not my type. And in general, I do not want to think about all this yet. Ben smiled enigmatically, looked at him in a sly way, and only said yes. Yes, you don't want to. It is understandable. Alex didn't understand anything, but he didn't ask. Ben has long ago noticed that only on them pathetic. He looks at them with a special tenderness. Maybe at first it was due to gratitude for help, but now in general, it seemed to him that their relationship might become different in the future. Long ago, he himself had been in love with Jenna and had even considered marrying her. But then, having reflected, he decided that he should take a more serious woman as a wife. As his wife, however, years later he began to realize that a spouse should be a friend. But with his own to make friends was not very well. Too much she liked to command. Maybe I really should have made a different choice. What's the point of regretting it now? Especially since his friend lived in the city with her parents. Only spent summers at her grandmother's. What do you understand? Alexander was surprised. Never mind. Soon you'll realize why you did not like Stetka. And on Sunday she went home, and Alex was left alone again. He had a lot to think about. Talking with his brother still did not give him peace. For so many years he had lived with the suspicion that his older brother had abandoned and forgotten him. But it turned out that this was not really the case. He was looking forward to seeing him, although he realized that it might be very soon. Petika could not settle his affairs with work in a second and come to him. The week flew by unnoticed. Alex, for some reason, decided that this weekend Ben would definitely come. But Saturday passed, and she still didn't show up. He didn't dare to call and ask why she didn't come. He figured she was just busy. So she couldn't. On Sunday, Ben came to visit him again. I hope you have good news. Things don't get done that fast in the neighborhood. They get done faster. And here we'll have to wait. I've been looking at the forecast. It's gonna start raining soon. Have you been up on your roof lately? Maybe it needs fixing too. I asked Ben. Yeah, I didn't think of that. You've been helping me. Now it's my turn. Let's take a look. Let's do it. I'm afraid I can't thank you as much as you can thank me. Noted, Alex. That's okay. You'll share the next hair if you catch it. My mother likes it very much. Alex smiled. This option suited him quite well. They climbed on the roof, and it turned out that it was also a little loose. Ben had already gotten it a little. What to do and how to do it. And together, they did it in a couple hours. But you can't take the rain now. Ben said cheerfully as he climbed off the roof. Thank you. I probably figured out how to get up there. Not until it started dripping from the ceiling. No, you can't do that in the country. You have to be prepared for anything. I see you've been gardening. Alex has really been gardening all these days. It was too late to plant anything, but he cleared it of weeds and dug, so that the ground could rest for next year. Yes, there's some, and that's good. Why just dig up the weeds and clear them out? Don't you get it, Alex? It means you've decided to stay here for a long time. See, you're already thinking about the future. I don't know, maybe you are right, Alex smiled. I like the air here so clean, but very quiet. I'm thinking of getting a farm, if there will be such an opportunity, of course. Your passport will be made, you will get a job, money will appear. Then you'll be able to think about a household. Jenna didn't come this weekend. No. What did you miss teasing him about, Alex? No, I was just asking. That's weird. Maybe something happened? I don't know, Alex shrugged. I wanted to call her, but then I thought I shouldn't. Too bad. Let's call her now. Ben took out his phone and dialed her number. She answered almost immediately. She sounded kind of quiet and unsure. Hi, where'd you disappear to? We've been waiting for you. Remember we said we'd go fishing? I remember, Ben, but we can't yet. You wouldn't believe it. I broke my leg. First time in my life. I can't go fishing. I can barely get around the house on crutches. The doctor said it's going to take a month for the bone to heal. Wow, how are you doing? Got someone to take care of you? The news wasn't exactly cheerful. Jenna was living on her own. It must be hard, with all her friends away on vacation. Yeah, I'll be fine. We're still getting food delivered, so I'll be fine. Well, I'll buy the medicine. Why don't I come over? No, that's okay. I can handle it. Jenna didn't like to stress anyone out. It wasn't pride. It was more about being independent and self-sufficient. She really needed help right now, but she didn't dare ask for it. Okay, wait, we'll be there soon, Ben said and hung up. Alex, surprised at him, looked at him. He too looked upset. He felt sorry for Jenna. How did she manage to do that? What are you looking at? Come on, let's go get her. You want to bring her here? Sure. Why stay in town? She'll heal faster here. Or are you against it? No, of course not. I'm all for it. Let's go. I'm not sure if she'll go for it, but let's go. The guys got in Ben's car and drove into town. The drive took about an hour and a half, and when they pulled up to her house, it was already starting to get dark. Alex knocked on the door for a long time. No one opened it. There was some noise from the apartment. Apparently, she really wasn't doing well. And when the girl finally managed to get to the door, the guys were already getting nervous. What a cabbage, Ben said cheerfully. When the door opened, Jenna looked pale and upset, but when she saw her acquaintances, she was incredibly happy. What are you doing here? She was surprised. But I told you to wait. I hope you're packed. Where you are going with us, Alex will take care of you. And I'll make arrangements for Baba Raya to supply you with milk and cottage cheese. The bone will heal faster, and the fresh air is much better. But I can't go. I've got a cat, and where can I take 2 of them? So we'll take them with us. That's it. All objections are dropped. I take it you're on sick leave anyway. Yeah, but I told you, I don't take no for an answer. I'd rather have a team. What do you need to bring? The bank and I will get it together real quick. She looked at them both uncertainly, but then decided not to argue. It's better to have someone around. For her, getting water was sometimes a problem. Her leg hurt like hell. It was stupid to refuse help. No, I'll pack my own things. Your job is to catch and seat their socks and collect their dowry. Potty in the toilet, food in the pantry bowls in the kitchen can still be grabbed. Big bags are in the bottom drawer, in the dresser in the kitchen too. Now that's another conversation. Ben smiled and got down to business. She went to her closet, left her bag, clothes, medicines, and other small things. And in half an hour they got into the car and drove back to the village. When they were almost there, Ben received a call from his wife, who was obviously not happy. Where did you disappear? He spoke on speakerphone, because he was driving, so everyone could hear him. Well, I texted you Jenna broke her leg. We went to pick her up. You're dealing with it again. Sweetie, you're on speakerphone. Stop, please. She was quiet for a second, sighed loudly, then continued in a hurt voice. Okay, when you get back. I've got half an hour to go, and I'll be back soon. If you want to sleep, you can lie down on me. Don't wait up. No, I'm not waiting up. And we need to have a serious talk. Jenna, hi. Thank you and hello to you. Then disconnected. He looked a little pissed off. Apparently he didn't much like it when his wife turned on Commander Scene in public. Clearly she didn't know about the speakerphone, but one still had to be delicate about such matters. We reached the village without incident. Alex laid out a sofa for Zhenya, which stood in the living room, then fed her dinner and put her to bed. She crows for a long time, trying to find a comfortable position, but it didn't work out very well. The next day, however, Jenna slept until almost lunchtime. The country air was clearly doing her good. She woke up rested and refreshed. Alex had already managed to return from the forest with another hare, fed her breakfast, and helped her to get outside, where he had already prepared a cozy place for her to rest. Like a foot. We'll add a little more to it. How did this happen? Would you believe it? It's the dumbest thing you can think of. I fell at home, tripped over a guy, just got out of the bathtub. The floor was wet. So I collapsed like a sack of potatoes. At least I could reach for the phone to call an ambulance. Yes, I guess that's why people need to have a family, to have someone to help in such situations. Alex was thinking out loud. Yes, there are times when loneliness is very unfortunate. I agree. Really, in everything else, it's pretty good. Jenna, can I ask why you divorced your husband? Alex has long wanted to know her story, but did not dare to ask such personal questions. Everything is quite banal. He cheated on me, I found out, I kicked him out. Imagine, he then said that I was to blame for everything, too much work, and not enough time for him. She said with a smile, I never understood why people first get married and then cheat. What is all this for? Sadly stretched Alex. Agreed. It's hard to find a man who understands that loyalty and love were invented for a reason. By the way, what about my brother? He called again. Yeah, we talked a few more times after you left. He's supposed to come visit one of these days. Really? That's great. I agree, I'm looking forward to it too. But I'm a little uncomfortable, to be honest. I feel like I'm a different person and I've changed. There's a lot of things I haven't told him about me, and he doesn't know you were homeless. Well, I haven't told him that directly, and to be honest, I don't really know if I should. There's no point in taking it anyway. The truth will come out sooner or later. I don't know. I think he'll stop respecting me. He'll think I'm weak. I decided not to fight and take the easy way out. The girl looked at the guy in surprise and then smiled. Alex, do you seriously think you took the easy way out? You know, I'm in favor of honesty anyway. If Peter doesn't understand you or judges you, that's his decision. Personally, I think you have to be very strong not to break. Considering everything that has happened in your life, you have nothing to be ashamed of. There may have been moments that are embarrassing to remember, but that's all in the past. They were sitting under an apple tree near the house, its branches creating nice shadows, the windows not hiding from passersby, and Svetlana was just passing by them. When she saw Alex, she didn't even say hello, defiantly turned away and walked past. Don't you two talk anymore? Jenna was surprised. Yes, she lost interest in me, answered Alex. And why? Yes, I just told her what and how. She as soon as she found out the details about me, so instantly I became uninterested in her. But I think that's even better. Why better? Because she became too, how shall I put it, obsessive. Okay, Jenna made a joke. We'll find you unobtrusive. Alex looked into her eyes and asked her not to look for anyone. I'm fine on my own. Okay, all right, whatever you say. She closed her eyes, enjoying the warm wreath and the sunshine. The girl loved this place. This was home. Yesterday, when they'd arrived, she thought leaving home was a very bad idea. But right now she felt so good. Another week passed. Alex and Jenna had time to become friends and get to know each other better. He helped her with everything. He looked after her like a sister. Saturday came and my soul was begging to go fishing. But it was a long walk to the pond. Well, on healthy legs it's not far. But with crutches it was not very convenient to get there. They were just having breakfast when Peter called. Alex, what's the house number? I'm already in your village. And half an hour later, the three of them were sitting at a table drinking tea. You have such great kids, Alex said with a smile, looking at the photo on his brother's phone. Peter had a son and a daughter already quite big, and Alex didn't know them at all. Well, come to my place and get to know them better. His brother could hardly find where Alex lived, but he came anyway. He still could not fully believe that he had been lied to so shamelessly many years ago. The meeting was very warm and cordial. It would seem that so many years had passed, and the ties of kinship still bind people for centuries. But I told you I couldn't go anywhere yet. When are the papers due? Maybe I'll come for a visit. What visit? I want to take you to live with me. There's enough room for all of us. I've come by car. I can take you with me right now, and we'll decide about the passport on the spot. Alex thought about it. On the one hand, why not? But on the other hand, he really did not want to go anywhere. At least right now. He was just beginning to come to his senses, just began to live again, not to survive in this village. He was so at peace, and to leave it all behind. No, he certainly wasn't ready for that. Peter, I want to stay here for now, especially since the papers are about to be ready. Do you understand? No, I don't understand. You're crazy. For so many years I thought you were dead, and I don't want to lose you again. As soon as we confirm that you're alive, we're gonna sue those assholes who stole our parents' house. I want to be together. Hata, I understand you, but I don't want revenge. I want a quiet and peaceful life without drama. Understand? Alex, do you hear yourself? It's their fault our mother died. They robbed us of our inheritance. They did such a despicable thing to you. They put me in the hospital for weeks. They threatened my family. You can't let that go. Peter was angry and very belligerent. Yes, you can. You have no idea what I've been through. And I don't want it all to come back. I insisted on my Alex. So tell me, you're silent and you didn't explain anything on the phone. Where have you been disappearing all this time? Where were you hiding? Alex thought for a second and then looked at Jenna, who sat quietly in the corner and kept silent. She only nodded at him, and he made up his mind. All these years, I've been surviving. I've been homeless, lived wherever I could, eating what I could find. I've only just moved here, and I really care about this place. Homeless. Why didn't you find me? Why didn't you find me? How would I find you? You're in New York. There's no way I could drive there. There's no way I could walk there. I had no papers, and no one was going to restore them to me. I only had enough money for food, and not always. So I could work without papers. Even the sweepers' yards didn't always want to hire me. People were afraid of people like me. It was useless to prove to them that I was human and hungry. And if it wasn't for Jenna, I'd still be sitting at the store with my hand out. And I don't think you and I would have ever met. Peter couldn't believe his ears. His brother had been homeless all these years. The man's eyes flashed back to the usual vagrants in his neighborhood, the ones he met every now and then. Some scavenged through garbage cans. Some slept on park benches. Some sat with a drink in the crosswalks. Usually these people were just disgusting. And his brother was the same. It was hard to imagine and realize. Okay, I really don't understand what it's like. But are you really better off here than at my place? I don't know why that is. You know, it's so quiet here. It's like my soul is resting and recharging. I don't want to go to noisy New York. I don't want to go back to running around proving I have a first and last name. I don't want to see the disgust on people's faces. I'm accepted here. I have friends, you know. I feel good here. Maybe later, someday. But not now. I feel like if you don't come with me now, I'm gonna lose you again. Alex, you realize you're my brother. I've raised you since you were little. I was your mother and father sometimes, and then I had to bury you. Peter got emotional and even wept. He did not understand why brother was so insistent on staying in this godforsaken place. Peter, I love you too, and I'm grateful too. I'm glad you came. Come again, take your wife and children with you. If you're not afraid of introducing them to a bum uncle, maybe by then I'll have my papers and a job, and I'll be able to live like a human being again. There's humanity here. What kind of life is there? There's nothing here, the older brother resented. Why nothing? See, I have a house, I have fishing, I have a cat, and there are delicious hares in the forest. And the forest is so big, beautiful. There are berries, mushrooms, pond, fish. Alex didn't have time to finish. His brother interrupted him. Do you hear yourself? What house, what fish, what hares? You're still talking like a homeless man. Because I still am. Homeless, I got nothing. And I want to get back on my feet before I go anywhere. That's what I'm suggesting. That you get it all at once. Peter insisted. Yes, and revenge. I don't want to. I've put it all behind me. Those people aren't worth getting involved with, and I won't. All right, if I forget about revenge, you'll come with me. Will you forget with a sad smile? Asked Alex. I know my brother too well. If he's fixated on something, he won't rest until he gets his way. It's strange that the desire for revenge he has only now, when he found out that his brother is alive. It didn't matter before. What's the matter? For your sake, I'll forget. I'm sorry, but I don't believe you. You know, people need rehab after a shock. Consider my rehab here. Yeah, I'd rather pay for a shrink. I don't want to shrink. I need to figure things out on my own. I'm fine here. Let's not argue anymore. Please come and help me carve the hare. We'll cook, eat, sit down. No, Alex, I didn't come here for a while. Did you tell me about your hair? I thought I'd be there. We'll pack up your stuff and get back on the road. It's a long drive. I drove the car to pick you up. But to be honest, I've got nothing to pack. I've got nothing but an old photograph. And I don't want to go anywhere. If you're in a hurry, go back to your family. I won't take offense. I know you've got your own life. No, you don't understand. I just can't leave you here. So stay. You offered and smiled. Sly, but you know I can't do that either. All right, I'll at least leave you some money. Where's the nearest ATM around here? Alex shrugged and Jenna answered for him. At the bank. In a neighboring town. It's 3 kilometers from here. There's no such thing here. There aren't even any ATMs. How do you live here? The bewilderment on Peter's face made Alex smile. We live like this. Brother, that's how we live. Peter still went to the neighboring town, withdrew some money, and returned to his younger brother. I put some 5,000 bills in front of him and said, don't you dare refuse. I wasn't planning on it. You can't have too much money. I'll pay you back as soon as I can. You don't have to pay anything back. We're brothers. All right, I'll go, but I'll be sure to pick you up next time. You stay here and rebuild. Let me know when you're ready. Peter left, and Alex sat on the porch and looked in the distance, trying to understand if he had made a mistake. From behind, he heard the bounce of crutches. What are you sorry you stayed? She asked, as if reading his thoughts. Alex looked at Jenna sadly, but then smiled. No, I don't. I just think maybe I'm really crazy. What did your brother say? Well, then we're both crazy, the girl replied with a smile. So what? Not everyone has to be normal in this world. Some of them might be a little more authentic. No kidding, I think you're right. It is much easier to recover in the countryside than in a huge metropolis, especially in the capital. Nature itself heals, and silence too. Are you trying to persuade me or yourself? Jokingly asked Alex. I mean, so I was dragged here too, as if to heal. I forgot. I say from my experience here to recover better. Well, I'm not sick. My leg is broken, and your soul is sick, but in its own way. And by the way, I'm glad you don't want revenge. Don't think, it's not stupid. It's the right thing to do. What's the point of running towards a behemoth that is many times stronger than you and can bite a man in half like a straw? Personally, I don't see the point. Maybe you're right. All right, enough grieving. It's time to get busy. You can help. If this is about your bunny, I'm out. No offense. I feel sorry for them, but I can help with the harvesting. Well, then go peel potatoes, and I'll bring meat and just make it, suggested Alex, and got up from the porch. 2 more weeks passed. It was time for Jenna to take off the cast and go back to work. She was already delaying this moment as much as she could. For some reason, she didn't want to go back to the city. In the time she'd spent here, she remembered how much she'd loved this place as a child. And to love it all over again. Quiet, peaceful, beautiful. It's different in the city. She knew for sure that she would miss this village, the house, the people. Her friends would call her from time to time and call her back. They wondered how she could live so long without her favorite TV series, without cafes, without music. She used to love all those things. Ben promised to drive her home in his car when he stopped by their house the night before she left. I did. I'll bring her back, and the wife shall fight again. Yeah, she was just jealous. Now I realize there's no reason to be jealous. Jealous of me. Jenna was surprised. Yeah, somebody told her we'd known each other a long time. Anyway, she'd heard all sorts of things, so she flinched a little. It happens to her. Don't worry about it. What about Alex's ID? Jenna asked. Oh yeah, you've got me all chattered up. That's why I came. Alex stands. Now you are a man with a passport. Ben handed his buddy his documents and smiled broadly. Alex opened the passport, looked carefully at what it said. Then he looked at Ben and said, You were right. He had done well. What were you doubting? Ben was surprised. I did. Jenna, on the other hand, kept telling me he was the only one who could help me. And now I see how right she was. Ben looked at him businesslike and said, It's good to have friends in the police force, isn't it? And by the way, that's not all he had in his hands was a driver's license for the same name, and with a cargo category. Seeing them, Alex got even more excited about the seriousness of what you managed to do. But you have to be smart. But I had to pay $5,000 for them. So you owe me. Alex immediately took the money out of his pocket and gave it back to Eugene. He wanted to jump like a little child from joy when he realized that now he could get a job as a tractor driver. Ben, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's good news. It's just a shame it's leaving. Otherwise, I'd give you a ride in the tractor. But I'll be back. You'll get a ride, she said cheerfully. And the news is really great. Congratulations. Jenna was so happy that the documents were finally ready that she hugged both Ben and Alex. And just at the moment when he plunged into Jenna's cheek, his wife came into the house. Apparently, she came to say goodbye before leaving. Are you settled here normally? Skeptically said Helen to her lips. Baby, it's nothing like that. Just a thank you. Finally got Alexa's passport made. Well, not to her. Zoma took a few steps away from him, smiled at Helen as if apologizing, though she wasn't quite sure why she should. At times, Helen would sneak out to visit, but more to check that her husband wasn't hanging around their house. He'd come in for a few minutes and then leave. I guess she never believed Ben had no interest in another woman. Except now she's doubting it again. All right, let's go home. Enough of this ranting, she said sternly and held out her hand. Ben looked at her glumly, but followed. Sometimes you had to give in to avoid unnecessary conflict in the family. When the door closed behind him, Jenna gave Alex another smile. If I could jump for joy now, I would definitely do it. Nothing. Soon the cast will be taken off and we'll jump together. Yes, this cast is annoying as hell. Well, tomorrow I'll go to X-ray and hopefully take it off. Enough already. Why don't you stay? I'm used to you. I'll be bored without you. Unexpectedly, Alex said. Jenna looked at him surprised. No, she didn't really want to go back. But she didn't expect to hear such a thing from him. And who will work for me? Yeah, I understand. I'm sorry, I just like living with you on crutches. You walk so funny. I don't know how you couldn't learn in a month. And then Jenna was home, 2 weeks back at work. Life was back to normal. The girl worked as a veterinarian for many years. She loved her profession, loved animals, and got along well with them. For the most part, her patients were cats, dogs, rodents, and occasionally parrots. Of course, sometimes she had thoughts of moving to the countryside after spending a month there. It was unusual to return to the boring city life. Even socializing with her friends didn't bring the same pleasure as before. They seemed empty to her now. Too much trouble. And their troubles were empty too. Jenna thought back to herself and realized she'd been the same. I could spend half an hour in a store picking out face cream. And who cared what ingredients it had, what clothes it had? How can you go shopping for 3 hours, choosing a blouse or a bag? But you could, and it seemed natural and normal. This weekend, she planned to go visit Alex. She wanted to see him as a tractor driver. Jenna had called her a couple times to tell her that Alex was getting praise at work. He didn't regret having to do the work for him. In the person of Alex, he found himself a good friend. They often talked, supported each other, and helped each other. It didn't matter to Eugene who he was. The new buddy was in the past. He looked forward without looking back. Jenna really wanted to go to the village, but after the fracture, her leg was still sore, and getting to the bus station was problematic. Asking Ben to come and pick her up again was inconvenient. The wife was not happy, so the girl decided to order a cab, especially since the cats could be taken again when she entered the house. Alex was nowhere to be found. Only on the table there was a note. "I already, if you're here, come to us," and even managed to draw a smiley face. She was curious as to what he was doing there, so she went straight there. She tried to remember if it was someone's birthday or some other holiday, but nothing came to mind. Jenna was walking towards Ben's house when suddenly she heard shouting from the neighboring house on their street. Her acquaintance, Wendy, was yelling at her husband, "Martin urgently need to go." "How long can you keep this up? What can I do?" "My Meggiana won't start. By the time you get it started, our Kathy will be dead. She hasn't been born for an hour." The girl couldn't pass by. It was urgent to help the cat give birth. She knew how dangerous it would be if the kitten stayed in her belly, if Kathy was young and couldn't manage on her own. So she immediately decided to offer her help. "Hello, let me help you. I'm a veterinarian." "What do you got there?" she said, peering loudly over the fence. "Oh, baby, you're a godsend. How good of you to come. Come quickly, Kathy, into the barn." The woman forbade it. Jenna opened the gate and went inside, washed her hands in the basin that stood outside by the porch, then followed Wendy into the barn. How surprised she was when it turned out they hadn't named the cat, but their cow. Jenna had never had to deal with such patients before. She suddenly felt a little scared. But then she was able to pull herself together, eventually. She knew the theory. There was no time to wait for another vet anyway. Half an hour later, both women came out of the barn excited. But Happy the calf had been born, albeit with difficulty. The cow was resting after the hard labor, but was already feeling much better. Uncle Martin had been stomping around the barn the whole time. He loved his little box very much and could not watch her suffering. Men and their oddities, which sometimes put you in a stupor. "It's okay," exhaled Jenna with a smile. "Where can I wash my hands?" She looked. She's not presentable at all in hibernating. "How are those guests now?" "Oh, Jenna, thank you very much," gratefully said Uncle Martin and hugged her despite her dirty clothes. "Yes, you're welcome. But you came up with the idea of naming the cow Kathy, too. I thought you were talking about a cat. Hasn't it worked with cows before? You know, we don't have cows in our town. Never had to, but I have to admit, and it's interesting enough. Jenna, do you want to come work for us? We've been without a specialist for 2 months, and he's probably not coming back." Ethan used to work in the village, an old-school doctor. He was the local vet for 30 years, but recently he went into hospital with a heart condition. Took a long time to heal. Rumor had it his son wanted to take him back to the city. When Jenna lived here with the fracture, several times she counseled villagers on how to treat animals. One of the dogs even had a cast on, but she didn't think they were that bad. With the vet, "I'll think about it," she replied. "Think about it, think about it. We need a vet, don't we? I mean, every house has cows, pigs, small animals. They need someone to treat them too. Well, I'm going to go now. By the way, do you know what Ben's holiday is today? Why did everyone go to them?" "We were going to," answered these toms, coming up behind us. "But Kathy's having a baby, so we changed our minds. It's like 5 years since he and his wife got married. So they're having a party. What, are you going to go over there looking like that?" Jenna looked down at herself and sighed sadly. Her bag contained underwear and a spare t-shirt. But that wouldn't save her now. "You're right, I guess I won't go. Where would I go dressed like this?" she said with a sad smile. "Wait, I can help you with that. Let's go inside," the aunt suggested. Half an hour later, the girl came out of their house in a beautiful red polka dot dress. Wendy had bought it as a gift for her 18-year-old niece, who was due to visit next month. It fit perfectly, and it was a nice dress to wear to the party. And there she stood on the fact that she gathered her hair in the back, in a beautiful bundle, and arranged it herself. Now one would hardly have guessed that only half an hour ago Jenna had delivered their fly. But all right, you're ready now, have a nice walk. And tell them we'll be gone, please. I can't leave Kathy right now. What if she needs something? By the time Jenna reached her old friend's house, the party was in full swing. The tables were set. There was elk, meat on the grill, people were hustling and having fun, as best they could. She did not immediately manage to find Zhenya with her eyes. She came closer and congratulated him on his anniversary. Helen appeared right next to her. Jenna congratulated her and even hugged her a little. Congratulations. Love and be happy. Yes, we will. You bet we will. Helen replied with a smile and stroked her belly. Come on, you can be congratulated on that too. Yes, said Ben happily. We're going to have a baby. What a joy. Congratulations. Take good health. Helen, take care of yourself. Jenna was so genuinely happy that Helen stood back a bit. Alex came from behind and gave Jenna a brotherly pat on the shoulder. Admittedly, he went a little overboard, and she squatted a little from the weight of his arm. Hey, what's up? Hey, forgot I was a girl. Sorry, I didn't realize you were a girl, he joked. Hey, you're early today. There was another bus on the route. Alex looked a bit different, more confident or something. Like he was in his place now, not lost in the woods like before. And that change was good for him. You wouldn't believe it. I took a cab today. That's awesome. Good for you for driving without an adventure. It's okay. By the way, Wendy and Martin aren't coming. Their cow had a baby. They're staying with her. They told me to tell her. Oh, thank God. Wendy was so worried about her, and there's no doctor. And her first labor was difficult. But she's fine now. Jenna smiled. Alex looked at her suspiciously and asked, Did you deliver a cow? How did you guess? And how would you know that she gave birth if you just arrived? And you look pretty happy about it. Well, maybe it helped her, but just a little bit. How's your work going? Do you like it? By the way, you promised me a ride on the tractor. I didn't forget. But not today. Maybe tomorrow, okay. Jenna made me drink a shot of it on the elevator on a dare. I can't drive now. You don't drink. I don't drink. But I had a bet. What did you bet? Oh, never mind. He didn't give me any manly nonsense. Oh yeah, Ben can't argue with him at all. I've been there. Well, I'd love to have a little something to drink too. I've never delivered a cow before. I'm still shaking inside. Alex put his arm forward, suggesting her to take him under her elbow, and gallantly said, Well, let's go. Let's find you something tasty. The woman opened her eyes, feeling the rays of the sun on her cheek. A couple of seconds passed, and she remembered what had happened yesterday. Turning around, she saw Alex sleeping next to her. Oh, shit, she thought to herself. No, she wasn't sorry, she just didn't know what to do next. Yesterday at Ben and Helen's party, they had found a really delicious white homemade wine. Brought by one of the guests, it tasted like a capote. But it was much stronger than she thought it would be at first read easy, so she didn't notice how she drank almost the whole bottle. Alex had been around the whole time. He could have fun without alcohol. That shot on the elevator had long since weathered, but he was always somewhere nearby and kept an eye on her to make sure the girl didn't do anything stupid. The local men were paying attention to her about that red dress, which behaved rather unpredictably in the wind. It made her look very feminine, and a little bit of playfulness surrounded Jenna's head, and she was finally able to realize what she had wanted for a long time. As they danced another dance, she looked at Alex and suddenly said, You're cute. Strange how I hadn't noticed that before. I don't know, I just haven't been paying attention. And you like me. He answered quietly and kissed her softly on the lips. And then everything was so fast that they didn't even realize how they ended up in the same bed at home. And now it was morning. Thinking back to last night, Jenna smiled. She didn't notice that Alex was already awake and was quietly watching her. Good morning. The girl flinched at the sound of his voice and turned around. Good, she replied with a smile. She had so many questions in her mind. She wanted to know what he was thinking. but there was nothing to say, as if frozen. Looking into his eyes. "Do you want to ride a tractor?" Suddenly, Alex offered. Such childish delight on her face he had not seen, even when they were fishing. "Can I be happy?" exclaimed Jenna. "Yes, of course, we can get ready." She jumped out of bed faster than a cat and went looking for some clothes. She remembered that her old shorts should be in the dresser, and immediately started rummaging through it. "Aha," thought to myself, "Alex is my rag." Jenna never left the village again. She stayed with Alex in her grandmother's old house. They decided to rent an apartment in the city. She got a job as a veterinarian, and a year later they got married. Then had a son. They named him Tom. Helen calmed down and stopped being jealous. When she found out that Jenna and Alex were now in love, and they became family friends. Peter, 6 months later, came to visit again, this time with his whole family. When he saw that his brother was fine and had found his happiness, he too calmed down and stopped urging him to move to New York. He realized that Alex had finally found his place in life. That's how people who were considered abnormal found each other and created a strong family, despite the gossip and difficulties of life. They were able to find their happiness in each other's arms and rejoiced in it. Every new day,